Hello there, friends. Welcome back to Civics. Today we're going to be doing a special Civics that kind of deals with a bunch of different things that go along with our government. And this is going to be mostly in response to this past week's slew of mass shootings. Not just Uvalde, which was in Texas, where 21 people died, including 19 children, but also the shooting in Buffalo, the shooting in Tulsa just yesterday, that being Thursday the 2nd, and all the other mass shootings that happen in this country, the country where only this seems to happen. So let's start by talking about exactly what in the Constitution we're really going to be talking about here, and that is the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, if you don't remember from all the way back in the middle of our series, is this. It says that a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now let's break that down real fast. Notice that it does not just say that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, which is what many people talk about it as. The first part is that a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, what does that mean? Well, what I'm really going to talk about here is the fact that it starts off by talking about the well-regulated militia. That well-regulated militia, if you're not aware, is the National Guard. Every state has a National Guard that is run by the governor and is basically the state militia that is allowed by the government. And then they go on to say that the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Another thing to bear in mind when this amendment was written was that it was the 1700s, and it took 4 minutes to reload a one-shot rifle or pistol. Nowadays, guns, right, have become stronger, more powerful, and more deadly, and so this amendment, right, has become quite the hot topic in the United States. The reason, of course, being that people are starting to get these guns that can kill so many people, and they're using them to kill civilians. These aren't being used in war. These aren't being used in the context of a well-regulated militia. These are individual citizens choosing to use guns to kill other citizens or non-citizens. Doesn't really matter right at this point. So what can we do about this? Well, first of all, we should probably talk about the fact that the ability to purchase a weapon in the United States has been regulated before. There have been tons of different past gun regulations, including bans on assault weapons, which were passed by Republican presidents and Republican Congresses. So these past bans, although right, are no longer in effect. We don't have those rules on the books anymore. They were set. They were laws that weren't permanent. They expired after a certain amount of time, and they were not renewed. So it is possible to regulate who is allowed to have a weapon. It's been done before. It's been done at the state level. It's been done at the local level. It's been done at the national level. So it's not something that we can't do. The Supreme Court has upheld these bans, right, as long as they're reasonable, and it's not banning all people from having guns, right, because it does say that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. These rules, these regulations, do not take away the right for citizens to bear arms. They make it so that certain people who should not have weapons cannot get them, and they make them so that certain weapons that should not be in the hands of regular people, right, not a regulated militia, cannot have them. At this point, though, that's becoming harder and harder to do. After these mass shootings, people have been asking, well, okay, why can't we make it so that this doesn't happen again? Why can't we pass laws to restrict these weapons from being sold? Well, the reason is because the NRA, the National Rifle Association, is a lobbyist group. If you remember back to our episode on lobbying, these are groups that spend money and talk with legislators and use their influence and power, mostly their money, right, to make decisions for legislators. And the reason they're able to do that as effectively as they are is due to cases like Citizens United, which allow corporations, political action committees, whatever the NRA is, right, to spend as much money as they want freely on candidates. So that means if the NRA doesn't want guns to be taken away from people, they can just spend money to make sure it doesn't happen. This is the problem that we're really facing in this particular instance. It doesn't matter how many children die, as long as the NRA is willing to spend money to keep the Second Amendment as free and open as possible, nothing's going to change. Now, that's unfortunate because the way that the government was meant to work is that the court of public opinion was supposed to drive policy change. The majority of Americans, over 60 to 70%, agree that we should be restricting who has access to firearms and who has access to automatic weapons. However, the people who are in charge of our government are oftentimes people who are paid by the NRA and therefore will not budge on the subject, right? Because that's the money they use to get reelected and maintain the power that they currently have. So the court of public opinion has been busted. The people in charge won't act because they're going to get their funding from the NRA. They don't have to worry about the people. They don't have to worry about individuals giving them money because they have a big political action group that will be paying for their things. Now, it may not surprise you, based on any of you watching this channel, right, that I do not support gun violence, and I do not support keeping the Second Amendment as open as possible. Today, this is the 3rd of June, I gave a speech at a march, or at a rally to end gun violence. I'm going to quickly go through that speech so you can hear it, and then after that talk a little bit about how you as an individual can do things to help mitigate the situation. What's in your legal rights, right, in government to try to make change. So here's the speech. Hello, and thank you to the organizers of the event and all of you for showing your support for this important issue and for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Mangian, and I'm an educator right here in, not going to tell you where I live. Gun violence is something that is on the forefront of my mind every day. Whether it is speaking with the kids of this city or with my fellow educators, this topic is not something I can avoid or ignore, which is why I'm here today. I can see the fear in the eyes of children as young as 5 when they enter my school. Will they be safe here? Will they be next? Where are all the exits? How can I save myself? No child should have to worry about whether they die in school. Too many of my fellow teachers have dealt with the internal struggle of knowing that they may not come home one day. Too many have worried about their ability to defend themselves and their students because someone has decided to buy a gun and use it to kill. We, not just as a community, but as a nation, have a serious public health crisis that we have ignored for far too long. And no, it is not COVID-19, although we do ignore that too. It's gun violence. It's far too easy in this country to access deadly firearms without so much as a background check, and with the invention of ghost guns and newer technologies, this has become even easier. It's been proven time and again that even as recently as last week, even as recently as yesterday, that business as usual is not enough to stop the rise in mass shootings in this country. Despite the mounting death toll of our children, our leaders and legislators do not change anything, saying this is not the time for political posturing or to panic. Well, when should we panic then? And what will get them to panic? The solution is a simple one, really. We must make it harder to buy a gun in the United States. This is something that a majority of us support in face of a violent and vocal minority. We can institute a system of background checks and minimum waiting periods. We can ban the sale of weapons for war and automatic weapons that so clearly are not meant for hunting or self-defense. We can mandate gun safety courses and licensing laws. We can force gun owners to be evaluated once a year by a mental health professional. We can hold gun manufacturers accountable for the blood of our children. This process starts with people like us. We cannot give up. We cannot be quiet, and we must stand tall and demand change, and continue to demand change until our country doesn't experience a tragedy every day. We can do better than this, and we must do better than this for the children and our future. Thank you for letting me speak, and thanks for standing up for what's right, an end to gun violence, and safe communities for our children. So that's the speech I gave at the rally, and basically it really kind of cuts into what I wanted to talk about after all of that, which is what is it that we can do as individuals to make change, right, in the process of our government. If you haven't watched the show on Netflix, The G Word, this show also makes the same claim that participating in local government is the greatest way to make effective change faster. These are the people who are regulating what happens to you specifically, right, in your towns, in your cities. So what can you do? You can write to your legislators, especially the ones who don't vote for these sorts of measures, the ones who've decided that the blood of children is okay as long as people can have their guns. Write to them. Tell them how you feel. It may not change their mind, but you'll make it so it's weighing on them. Vote. In November, there's an election coming up. It's the midterms. It's an important election. Make sure you vote for candidates that support gun safety measures. You can write letters. You can talk at rallies. You can march. You are part of the court of public opinion. If people see us out there making our voices heard, then they will change their minds and they might also vote the way that we want them to vote. Remember, in our government, the fourth branch is supposed to be the people, and you are one of those people. You have a say, and you have the ability to let other people know what you think and influence how they vote. That's the power of being a part of this democratic system. You are part of the fourth branch of government. You can make a difference. So I encourage you, no matter what issue or stance you have, to make sure your voice is heard. Go out, do what needs to be done, do the work. Thank you again for watching Civics, and we'll be back the next time something awful happens and we have to do a special Civics about it. Because you know it's going to happen again, as long as we do nothing. Bye.